All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And good evening, one and all. Here we are, hour number 2 for today, Monday, August the 22nd. My gosh, kids are going back to school, and when? In 2 weeks? And that gives us the countdown till Christmas. It never stops, does it, Exo Nation? Do you know, Laura and I were in a department store the other day. They actually have all the Halloween stuff out. It's not even September. Like, come on, guys, stop pushing the changing of the months. Like, that's happening fast enough on its own. Holy cow. Hey, Craig, what are you going out dressed as Halloween this year? ZZ Top. Yeah. That's because you look like him. Exonation, my guest this hour, I should say, is Erik Roth. He's been a professional astrologer since 2010 and has studied Shamanic Astrology since 2004. He has held classes on Shamanic Astrology in Portland and Tucson, as well as presented at local fairs in Oregon and Arizona since 2010. Between 2013 and 2014, Erik hosted a monthly meetup group focused on astrological discussions, including a presentation on the April 2014 Astrological Grand Cross. In 2011, he became certified by Daniel Giamario and the Shamanic Astrology Mastery School and joined the school's board of directors as secretary in 2012. He became the managing director and treasurer of the school and continues that position to this very day. I could go on reading about this gentleman's credentials, but you know what? That would take up the entire hour. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bring Erik on. And Erik, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you, Rob. It's good to be here.
Erik, what is Shamanic Astrology?
Excellent question. Shamanic Astrology is a tool that celebrates the magical link between the earth and the sky, and really it is a tool to help us empower ourselves and live in authenticity and wholeness.
Now, how does Shamanic Astrology differ from the astrology that we usually hear about? You know, the ones with the... let me see. What is it? Western astrology, sun astrology.
Yes.
How does yours differ?
Yeah. Well, in several ways. The sun sign that most of the mainstream hears about, you know, when you're born at a certain time of month, that's your sign. But it simply plays in Shamanic Astrology. It plays one role among several roles, where for example, the moon or the rising sign or Venus or Mars actually also play significant roles in a person's life. So it's not, the sun sign doesn't dominate a person in what they are in Shamanic Astrology. We also look at, we don't make judgments as to whether a sign is good or bad, or whether a planet is good or bad, or whether one's better than another. There's validity to everything. That there's a reason for it all, and that the planets create initiations for us in order for us to better able to understand ourselves and our growth through our life.
Which is older,
yes.
the astrology that is non-shamanic or the shamanic astrology?
That's a good question. Daniel Giamario created Shamanic Astrology in the 1980s, and then partnered with Kaylin Castell, created the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School in the late 90s. But his own tutelage and where he learned a lot of what he knew was from several different sources: humanistic astrology, Western astrology, as well as direct experience with through Vision Quest, through working with nature, working with the stars and the planets themselves directly. But Western astrology in its modern form came about primarily in the late 1800s with the when newspapers needed a way to really convey someone's horoscope, and the easiest way to do that, as long as they knew what the day was, they can determine what sign they were. Prior to that, most and especially when the farther back you go, most people associated with their moon sign.
Yes.
And looked at that as who they were rather than the sun. But the sun was an easy way to just sell newspapers.
So, in your opinion, and I guess this is a loaded question and it's going to be a one-sided question, which is more accurate, the horoscopes that we see, or that other astrologers who do not use the shamanic astrological method, or is, and why is it more accurate in your opinion?
Yes. It all depends on perspective on what is accurate, what is not. Shamanic astrology is a tool that helps a person and kind of getting to the bottom of things, some of the core issues, what is the soul's intent in this lifetime, and also creating windows of understanding what windows of opportunity a person has in their right now or into the near future to take certain actions in their life. In Western astrology, they use a different, what they call a house system, a different way of interpreting the aspects or the signs. But there is a common language in that the signs are there, the planets are there, and there's some similarities in the interpretation of what the signs really are and what they're not. And so we look at, in shamanic astrology, we look at the essence of each of the signs and the essences of each of the planets, and that they're living, breathing archetypes or energy templates within ourselves, within the psyche, and that we move along with them in life. I couldn't say whether one is necessarily more accurate than the other, but I have found from testimony from clients, from people who I've done talks for and classes, that this is a type of astrology that really speaks deeply to them and makes more sense. And in some ways it's more simple to understand in comparison to the more technical aspects of Western astrology. But that also has I've heard testimony on the other side that it's also very accurate too in some regards. I believe it really depends on the astrologer.
So why is it called shamanic? I know shamans that that use the indigenous rituals and the indigenous training that they received before they call themselves shamans. So
yes.
Since this shamanic astrology has only been around since the approximate 1980s, how can we call it shamanic?
Well, it takes its current form that, again, Daniel had learned from many people or astrologers and direct experiences. So this kind of astrology honors the three ancient worlds: the underworld or the below world, the middle world, which is the world we live in now, and then the upper world, which is the celestial realm. And it honors that through its visual, kinesthetic, and experiential connection with the night sky and the seasons, and the way the patterns evolve. Shamans also, in their own work and in a general way and throughout history, have looked to the stars and the night sky for answers, for information, either through just a direct experience, through altered states, through ceremony. In shamanic astrology, we also can use this paradigm or this tool to find times in our life where we can conduct ceremony, where we can conduct initiations in our life. And I've in these workshops that I've taken, as well as some that I've taught.
All right, so
to do some ceremony to honor a certain passage of time.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So how long does it take for you to do a basic chart using shamanic astrology?
Well, like most astrologers, I have software, and I plug in someone's name and birth information, and then I come up with a chart, usually only less than a minute of time, depending on when I get the information, if I got the software up.
Right.
So it's pretty quick. But we also do, it's not just looking at a chart in shamanic astrology, but we also look at the patterning of the planets themselves, and checking in to see what certain patterns that might be coming up for a person. And I could spend all day just looking at a chart on a two-dimensional computer screen, but going outside and connecting with the stars on that level, you can also pick up some additional information that way.
What I've done is I've sent you via Skype my birth date, time of birth, city I was born, and what else did I send you? I think I sent you the information that you would need. Now, at the bottom of the hour, we have to take a 5-minute break. Will that give you time to do a chart?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do that later on.
I'd be happy to.
Great. You mentioned that shamanic astrology takes into account the three worlds. Is that what you said? The 3 worlds?
Yes.
So the world beneath, the world that we live on, and then the world above, which would be the stars, I would imagine. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so why would the underworld have anything to do with astrology? Because isn't the underworld the place where evil lives?
A good question. Yeah, that's a general perception that we have of the underworld. It is a place where bad things are. But in reality, the underworld, if you go back to pre-Christian times, the underworld was a place that was honored in life and in community, depending on a person's situation or community situation. The underworld was a place where, like, might go into. A person might initiate themselves in part by going into a cave, and in that cave they go through a fasting or a transformation, and that is without light, and they would experience, they would basically get to know themselves, and when they do that, they go deep into the root of who they are, and the place of transformation, the place of where their resources are, and the core, the essence of themselves. That's the underworld. That's a place where it's the deep, dark, rich soil of the earth, or below the ocean, where the richness of and base primal energies are. And without the underworld, life itself here, creation, wouldn't be possible. And so the underworld was a place where you could also get knowledge, where you could also find, through transformation, become empowered in life. But it's not a place where people generally volunteer to go.
Would this have anything to do with burial ritual then?
Yes,
instead of cremation.
That is part of it. Every time at least a few times a year, they keep finding older and older burials throughout human history, and not just human beings, but Neanderthals and others conducted burials, and it was they were returning to the earth, this dark soil, and honoring the underworld through that passage. And of course, the body would transform into the earth, and depending on the culture, the soul would ascend into the celestial realm. And of course, and the ancient Egyptians, they also had big ceremonies around that particular vibe, the underworld. But cultures, you can throughout the world, if you looked at that, just about everybody had something going on with the underworld. And then when the time, especially in Western history or Western culture, it was really the time of the of Christianity when that came about, and their change of opinion on what the underworld was all about over a period of several centuries that shifted.
Is there a connection between shamanic astrology and Wicca or witchcraft?
None to my knowledge, but they both, depending on, I guess, the person who practices the Wiccan, honor nature in some level, and certainly with I have some basic knowledge of Wiccan, but nothing extensive. I do know that they work with the moon and the sun in a big way, and sometimes probably even the stars,
Right.
depending on what they're trying to do. So, I mean, in some regards, there is a connection to astrology through Wicca.
What does shamanic astrology say about the current global situation?
I was hoping you'd ask that question.
I try, my friend. I try.
Yeah. This has been a huge topic, and in particular this month. I don't know if you ever get a chance to go out and look at the night sky in the evening time, but right now an alignment is forming between Mars, Saturn, and Antares, and in the Scorpion constellation, and then towards the western horizon, Jupiter and Venus are coming together, and it's especially with this Saturn Antares Mars alignment, it is creating, you might say, kind of a fire hose of energy, of intensity, of density, coming to, in a sense, coming to us, or we're entering with that. And in a sense, with this environment in which it's kind of this soup that we're living in, it's kind of we're at a precipice right now. We're at a turning point, and there is a lot of people that are hanging on to their old stories and what they're comfortable with, and then there's a lot of change coming in various ways and people are resisting that. This is a time period, astrologically speaking, that it's made to almost like we're having a midlife passage where there is just so much going on that's made to almost in a sense unnerve us, make us uncomfortable, send us into new paradigms, new thoughts, sort of burst the bubble of what we thought was our culture or our foundation of who we were, and to open up to new territory, the unknown. And that's where generally where we're headed is the unknown. In the United States, certainly in this presidential election season, I look at this as a precursor to what's going to be coming up. I think in the West in general, but possibly global, is another powerful alignment that's coming up in 2020. It's an upset and overturn of the old, and in a sense, if you look at the longer picture, I don't know if you've heard of the 26,000 year cycle, but we're at what we call the turning of the ages, and our time is accelerated. The precession of the equinox, it's a time when that circle is finally completing and entering into a new age. And when that happens, it's like what used to be 10 or 20 years of a person's life is compressed into a year or less, and that goes all the way around the world, and with that becomes feelings of tension, people feeling ungrounded. I get a lot of people asking questions about that and why they're feeling that in the way that they're feeling. And I'm feeling it too. I'm not, as an astrologer, I'm not exempt to the planetary influences. And even if a person is not in a cycle right now, we're really feeling that additional fire hose of energy that's coming in. Especially, this month really has been a kicker, and it's and while there might be lulls in between, it's the acceleration continues, and I personally think that there is going to be a lot more upset and overturn of, in economic throes, in cultural throes, and the way we handle relationships, the way we handle our definitions of gender. Everything is being sort of like thrown up into the air, and the shadow of all that we are is being exposed. And we're seeing all of what we once were. And we need to. It's like we're getting this opportunity to work with it.
As a shamanic astrologer, have you done the astrological charts for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump?
I have them, and the school, the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School, actually did in part a mini class on those on the election itself, and I just happened to have those charts here. And so I had a feeling you might ask me about the.
You're not only an astrologer, sounds like you're a psychic as well.
Well, I try to anticipate as much as I possibly can. I am a bit intuitive too.
All right, so why don't we do this? I've got about 4 minutes before I have to take my break. Would that be long enough to do one of the charts?
Yeah.
All right, let's do the Secretary of State, the former Secretary of State, the one and only Hillary Clinton.
Okay. Well, Hillary is she had gone through some recent rough times, and astrologically speaking, she's kind of in this in-between zone where there isn't a huge, intense, you might say, cycle happening for her. So she's got a little more, you might say that this is actually in comparison to the other candidates at this time anyway, she's actually a little more able to get her message across in a way that is more beneficial to her and what she has plans, and her truer self that comes out. She's certainly got an intense, she's got a lot of scorpionic energy, and she has some additional Leo there. She's a person that is full of passion and spark and is strong-willed. And when she wants something, she really she will do whatever it takes to get to that place. She does have a heart, though. She does have compassion and empathy. But she definitely has a lot of desire and want, a lot of things for self-interest, things that for her own person in the long run that matter to her. But again, because she does have a big heart, she will have empathy. She will have a sense of a deeper understanding of the human condition. And her life track, or where she's going, I think she's in a year where this could actually turn out to where she could become elected here, in comparison to, because I've certainly looked at Donald Trump as well, the two leading candidates here.
Sure.
In the comparison of those two, she has a chart that could lead her to that place. It also shows, I did look briefly that there was definitely a reason why she and Bill Clinton are together. They definitely have some powerful connections beyond their two charts that make complete sense to me. But they are both a powerful force, and with all of, like I said, with all of her scorpionic energy, she won't lay down. She won't lay down, or not easily anyway.
All right, listen, you and I will take our break. We'll continue this on the other side. Eric, thanks so much for joining us. Thoroughly enjoy talking to you, good sir. Exonation, if you'd like to contact Eric, www.inspiralnexus.com. Inspiralnexus.com is his website. Now, before we go, we've received many emails and calls about what networks the X Zone Radio Show is on, and how you can listen to us either on satellite or on radio, in your car, or even on telephone, because you can actually listen to our show on the telephone. All right, Craig gave me the list, the new updated list. The Angel Broadcast Network, CNN Broadcast Network, Digital Broadcast Network, Digital Satellite Network, Hamilton Radio TV Network, IKR TV Network, IPBN Music Network, IPBN New Age Radio Network, IPBN Radio Network, IPBN TV Network, Mutual Broadcast Network of Canada, Mutual Broadcast Network International, Rogers Media International, Sirius Satellite Network, TNA Radio Network, TalkStream Live, TSOM Radio Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcasting Network, Wiki Hamilton Network, and of course, XZBN. Wow. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone with our very special guest, Erik Roth. And after Erik tells us about Donald Trump, he's going to tell you about me. All this and more as the X Zone continues live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Whatever you do, don't go away. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. Celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
National News Desk at the Canadian News Network in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. The boy looks scared and younger than 16 years old when Iraqi police grabbed him on the street in the northern city of Kirkuk. Pulling off his shirt, they found a 2-kilogram bomb strapped to his skinny frame. A U.S. judge blocked an Obama administration policy that public schools should allow transgender students to use bathrooms of their choice, granting a nationwide injunction sought by 13 dissenting states just in time for the new school year. The U.S. Federal Reserve has two guiding goals when designing monetary policy: maximum employment and stable inflation. Turkey vowed on Monday to completely cleanse Islamic State militants from its border region after a suicide bomber suspected of links to a group that killed 54 people, including 22 children, at a Kurdish wedding. Senior aide to U.S. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump signaled a possible shift in his hardline immigration policies on Sunday, saying his plans to deport 11 million people who are in the country illegally were under review. Despite banks nudging toward online tools, many U.S. customers are not ready to give up regular visits to their nearest branch, complicating the industry's efforts to slim down. The Philippines have recorded about 1,800 drug-related killings since their new president took office 7 weeks ago and launched a war on narcotics, far higher than previously believed, according to police figures. A judge ordered the State Department on Monday to review and determine the potential release of 14,900 documents, most of which are believed to be emails to or from Hillary Clinton that turned up in an FBI investigation of her use of a private email server as Secretary of State. The U.S. National Security Panel has cleared ChemChina's $43 billion takeover of Swiss pesticides and seeds group Syngenta, the company said, boosting chances that the largest foreign acquisition ever by a Chinese company will go through. From the International News Desk at the Canadian News Network in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, I'm Rob McConnell.
Shamanism is recognized as a method to access the quantum level. Mastery of shamanic skills puts spiritual information and healing power into your hands. Path Home Shamanic Art School, a bonded Colorado certified occupational school, has met rigorous state standards, ensuring its director and instructors have the qualifications to teach the shamanic arts. Path Home offers a certification program in blocks of study. Block 1, a 5-day intensive, will be held in the beautiful mountain town of Coaldale, Colorado, October 13th through 18th. Registration deadline is September 12th. Experience journey trance, power animals, helping spirits, sacred space, and life purpose. Come discover your power. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magical world of shamanism. Call 303-775-3431 or visit findyourpathhome.com.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com.
Join High Tech with Corey K weekly here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. From the world of computers to the ever-popular computerized gadgetry that are becoming part of our everyday life and living and society. From kids and their gaming devices, teens and their smartphones, to the applications of personal and business computers. From hardware to software, from standalone units to network computers. Join high-tech guru Corey K weekly right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network as he takes on the topics that will be of use and great value to the international audience of the X Zone Broadcast Network. High Tech with Corey K weekends at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Doesn't that sound astrologically perfect, exonation? Kind of sounds like you're looking at the stars, you're trying to make sense if somebody from another star is looking back at you. And then you're wondering, well, what do the stars mean? Is there another meaning that is eluding me? Well, this is what we're here this hour to try and better understand with our special guest this hour, Erik Roth. He is a shamanic astrologer. And his website is, just a second here, I just had it, inspiralnexus.com. Now, before the break, we were talking about the astrological charts of the two presidential candidates. Did we finish Hillary Clinton?
I believe we did. She's we talked about how she has a big heart, and we talked about her intense energies and how she's really here to exercise her will into this world. And it to me, it makes sense for her to be in the position that she's in at this moment, and how she's risen through various means, and almost like any means possible to get to where she is today.
All right, so let's take a look at her current rival, because God only knows what's going to happen in the next 80-some-odd days. Donald Trump. What does astrology tell us about the Donald?
Well, it's telling us that he doesn't have anything hiding in his closet, so to speak. Mm-hmm. He's laying it all on the line, and he doesn't care what's shown about him or anybody that was around him in his life. For him, image is a huge factor, and the more publicity that he gets, the more that he feels he can thrive. And it really is about him. He has a Leo rising and Leo Mars. And most of his chart is about the self, is about really not so much about other people or helping them. It's simply whatever can help him get to where he needs to be. And if he happens to help people along the way by doing that, then so much the better. But we can see it in his nature and how he loves to be up on stage, and he loves the limelight. And he loves that attention, and certainly he's Leo Mars, Leo rising, would certainly get their greatest rewards from being in the spotlight. But however, because but also makes him extra bold and leaving everything on, that there's nothing hidden.
Right.
That means that some things where he might not know so much about tact or about diplomacy or understanding what is politically correct and what is not, and just simply throwing it out there for the world to see. He does have a lot of his, you might say, vulnerabilities or areas of challenge or trouble for him would be in areas of relationship and areas of really connecting. What's strange is connecting with a mass of people and where it initially comes from his relationships with his ex-wives and his current wife. The amount of control that the battle of wills between them that's happened for him, and that he lives this almost like this separate life. It's like he has trouble with that part of his life, and his I guess you could say projection of that would be that he invites the whatever partner that comes into his life is the one that's just going to be there to support him, and no matter what he does. And that's that they take care of that business and he goes out and does his thing. When it comes to these cycles right now, in this election climate, he is in what we discussed earlier, an underworld. Yes. He is in an underworld cycle right now, and it is affecting the underworld cycle is specifically targeting his life path, and it's certainly creating troubled waters for him. It's activating it, so he's out there on stage and being himself. But when he starts to connect with larger groups, trying to connect from a more specific subgroups in the United States to larger and larger mainstream, that's where he's going to have a lot more trouble, and especially in this cycle that he's in right now. It's a cycle that's going to last the rest of this year and into 2017. And so, in combination with another one that's coming up for him at the end of this year, if he's someone that does get elected, he's certainly going to have his first term would be extremely rocky and rough and just about unprecedented as to what will take place during that term. It's intended to shake things up out of his life, and unfortunately, he's the kind of person who really has trouble seeing his own shadow, and because of that, he might ignore a lot of the advice, the good, sound advice that he gets from people around him.
Wow! So basically, he'd make a lousy groundhog.
Yes.
Now you said that. He had problems with connecting with masses of people.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't mean he certainly had huge rallies over the last several months, and especially as he's really ramped up his election. But what he's in when it comes to the larger population, he's almost like a catalyst for that shadow in the cycle that he's in. So people who have who are coming out of the shadows are attracted to him. People who have been pushed down in some ways, or you might say, quote, disenfranchised, or obviously in alignment with his own philosophies and beliefs and politics. So they're coming out of those shadowed areas. They seem to be attracted to him, and in this cycle,
right.
It's very, 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 very evident in Pluto in opposition to his natal Jupiter, and he's just got that signature there, where he will, if he gets onto a larger stage in this path, he will attract that, and he will bring up. I don't want to say violence or something like that, but he will bring up a lot of intense reactions from folks. And because he likes to be big and bold, it's the reactions are going to be bigger and bolder over time. And so that's what part of what I say is when he gets in, if he does someone, obviously he's behind in the polls, but if he does get elected, he would bring that energy to the presidency, but obviously he's also got to be able to be someone who has got to work with Congress and the judicial branch. So that's also a big trouble spot for him, I see on his chart.
All right, so tell me about my chart. I gave you my birth date, the time of birth,
Yes.
and where I was born. So what can you tell me, as well as the listening audience of the X Zone Nation, what my shamanic astrological chart tells you? And don't hold anything back.
Okay, all right. Well, the first thing that caught my attention when I pulled up your chart was that you are also Leo rising, but a completely different kind or different branch. You're someone who's here. You do also operate in a sense in the shadow realm. You're here to help shine the light into things, into topics. Obviously, your line of work, you do that all the time.
Right.
Bringing out things from that are kind of on the fringes into the public attention. This is actually shows up very well for you. In fact, this is an area, if you had come to me, let's say I was practicing in the 90s or something before you just started this program, I would say that this is going to be going to give you a lot of rewards in your life, because the rising sign, the ascendant, this is the sign that comes up over the eastern horizon at the time that you're born, is the dawning of yourself, where you're going to get the most rewards, kind of like your beginning, where your nature is going toward in the long run. But you're also someone, as far as your nature goes, you also can be quite quirky, someone who loves a good laugh and loves to have fun at times.
Exactly.
You have what we call the lineage of the shapeshifter, or the trickster, and that's your moon. The moon was in Gemini at the time, and that means that you came into this world having already mastered what it was to be able to break the rules and have fun, be beyond, out of bounds from the rules, and to kind of dance around them as if they didn't exist. But now you're here to shine a light, shine a bright spotlight on the world, or at least in the fringes where others can also be inspired and kind of pick up the torch, give them a voice. You also have a soft spot. I was just after looking at Donald Trump's chart. You have a couple of things signs that are similar, but you definitely have some differences here. And one of those is that soft spot, the sun in Taurus. It's also your midheaven, and I would say that the greatest clues from the midheaven, which has to do with your work, it's like where you get the most pleasure in life when it comes to work. And if you really take a great deal of pleasure in whatever you do, now someone could say, well, you can apply that to almost anything, but as a priority, to be able to pleasure the pleasure of being able to be, for example, for you on the radio, and it really just is a big turn on for you, that this is, then obviously that is what the universe will be there to support you in that work. You also have part of your nature. It can be also very intense and passionate. Someone who doesn't mind walking on the edge a little bit and kind of testing the boundaries of life. Sometimes looking out and getting is essentially kind of like what I was describing about Hillary, although Hillary's got just a much deeper amount of it. But for you, it's really reaching out and identifying what you want, just grabbing it, that I really instinctually, this is mine and I'm taking it. And that is supported. That is totally supported by the universe and your life path. So your passions, your will, your ability to really take charge and be a leader, to have a certain amount of charisma, but be able to shine a light. That's because you understood what it means to go through challenging times,
sure,
and tough times, and death and rebirth, and so you understand that, and you can bring that out and have that, as I said, that softer spot where you can come in with a demeanor where it's not intimidating or aggressive. You have the ability to be that, but you also have this balance there that helps with the polarity of your life, and so it kind of rounds you off in that way.
Right.
But you, looking at your chart, if I didn't know you, I would say that you're definitely going to be someone that is known on some level, but at least someone that's going to be very visible in life. And you're meant to be visible in life. In fact, you're certainly have. I would say that congratulations on paying attention to the voices, the inside, your conscious self is telling you which direction to go and how to take it, because you're definitely in alignment here with this life's work that you're doing. Pluto and Scorpio and Aries, and I would say Leo to some extent, also gives you some great strength in life. That means that you know how to overcome adversity, and sometimes doing it with a sense of flourish, or at least really understand with a deep sense of knowing of really having knowing that it wasn't just that it was something deep, that it was something powerful, and you're ready to move on to the next stage. So that's a nutshell version of your chart here.
Well, you've nailed me dead on.
Thank you.
No, you've nailed me dead on, and thank you so much. Can people contact you through your website to arrange an astrological chart in the shamanic fashion?
Yes, absolutely. At inspiralnexus.com, and I have a contact page, or they can email me. Can I give that email out?
Oh, please do. Definitely.
Okay. It's Inspiral Nexus, INSPIRAL, and then the word Nexus, NEXUS, @gmail.com. And my phone number is also listed on the website, so feel free.
Sure, give it out if you'd like.
I take calls.
Give your phone number out.
Okay.
If you'd like to, sure.
971-404-7117, and I call back. So I have voicemail, and I can certainly set up a reading, and we can. I've done many hundreds of readings, and I do fairs where I do a lot of mini readings as well. I make appearances and do talks. So there's also if someone's in the Oregon area, I'm going to be doing some upcoming fairs here in the Oregon area in the Willamette Valley, Albany, and Eugene in October and November. So feel free to contact me. I've got some information on my website too there. But yeah, this is my passion. This is what I love to do. I love to empower people, and for them to be able to use their own free will in their own life, and show them where their strengths and vulnerabilities are, as well as maybe some opportunities coming up for them.
I can hear the passion of what you do in your voice.
Thank you. I'm really grateful and blessed to be in this line of work. If I don't know if I mentioned this in my bio, but for many years I was in the commercial insurance industry. And at one time I was doing insurance and astrology at the same time, and eventually the universe kicked me in the butt and kind of booted me out of the office.
The universe has a way of doing that, doesn't it?
It does. It's, and I was hanging on for security reasons, thinking this would still be good for me, but nope. There was other plans going on there, and
that is so true.
I got thrown into the fire, which was a good thing.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me. There were times when I've been doing the show for 25 years, and besides doing the show in the early days, I was a program director for a group of stations. I was the director of promotions and, producing shows. If a producer was sick as the executive producer, I'd have to, step in and take over. And it came to the point where I figured, I've got to get out of this. No, it's just too much. And every time I tried to leave, something would happen that would make it impossible for me to leave.
Oh.
And, after trying this 4 or 5 times, I got the hint. Like, all right, I'm a slow learner, guys. You know, unless you believe that the universe can actually give you a butt kick,
Yeah.
you're not going to believe it. But believe me, it does happen. And what I learned over the years, Erik, was that failure is actually a lesson to success.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And once you get that, and this is what I love telling people, I said, don't get discouraged. Get back up on that horse. You know, you look at it, your failure as a lesson. Learn from your mistake, apply it to the future. And that's what it's all about. And
Beautifully said.
And I think that people like you and I are here to help get that message across, because I firmly believe in my heart of hearts, if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. And so many people today love to stick their heads in the sand and their asses in the air, hoping that there's going to be a second coming, or that the extraterrestrials are going to save us. And you know what? They're not. We are responsible for our successes. We are responsible for our failures. And we need to take responsibility in order to get things going the right direction again. And that's why, my friend, we had you on the show tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, beautiful. Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. Absolutely.
If somebody would like to become a shamanic astrologer, what should they do?
They should first go to shamanicastrology.com, which is the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School's website. Because I'm the managing director of that school, they can also contact me to get further instructions. But there's a whole page on that website dedicated for someone to inquire about that and start the process.
What are your final thoughts for the members of the listening audience tonight, my friend?
Well, I would like to share that go outside when you can. Look up at the stars and the planets. The ancients, we are remembering them again. We are remembering them again. We lived in harmony with the universe at that time, or at least we lived in harmony with understanding the nature of the nature. And the lights have blocked out a lot of the stars in our urban environments. But if we take a chance and go out and look and see the vastness of that, it's part of us. We're part of the Earth, and the Earth is part of the solar system, and solar system vice versa, all the way through the galaxy and beyond.
Many years.
Ponder that.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Oh, just saying that by tuning into that, a person can get their own knowledge, their own insights, and their own initiations beyond anything that I might say or practice.
Many years ago,
the purpose is to empower them.
Many years ago, I wrote this down, and my producer just brought it to my attention. Remember the ancients, for they have never forgotten you.
No, they haven't.
Yeah. My good friend, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to the next time you join us back here in the X Zone. Thank you for telling us all about Hillary and Bill and letting our listening audience know all about me. Once again, please give us your contact information.
Yes, it's my website in spiralnexus.com, INSPIRAL Nexus, NEXUS.com, and my email address in spiralnexus@gmail.com, and my phone number at 971-404-7117. And you can also go to the shamanicastrology.com website, which is where that's where the school is, the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School.
Excellent. Erik, take care of yourself, and until the next time we meet, be safe and always watch those stars for us, will you?
Thank you, Rob. I will. I appreciate it.
Take care, my friend.
Good
night now.
Bye-bye.
Exonation, Erik Roth has been our guest this hour, and if you'd like to find out more about Erik, if you'd like to... Craig, what's going on here? Oh, there we go. If you'd like to contact Erik for a one-on-one consultation, by the way, astrological charts make great Christmas presents. They really do. And I know a number of people who take their children or give their children's date of birth and the information to an astrologer to help them better understand the child and in which direction to point them for their future. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we talk to Joe Wiegand. He's a police detective by day and a paranormal investigator by night. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Oh, whatever you do, don't go away. It's going to be a great hour with Joe.